same fashion, but continue to manage the city in a good fiscal fashion. So thank you very much. All right, folks, moving on, we've got our presentation. We're gonna go to 6A. Hector, we're gonna ask you to come back up and give a little more detail on our water situation. We have
5E.
Did I miss one? 5E, ma'am. Okay, forgive me, I'm sorry, Yolanda, forgive me. I cut you out, you're opportunity to speak, so, community development reports, Yolanda.
I'm gonna let Mr. Orfeld come out and do the parks. And then I'll just touch real briefly on the rest of the divisions.
Afternoon, Council. Like everybody else, it's been a kind of a slow month for us. We're just trying to get ready for the Little League season. We've already had a couple of tournaments already. The Pearsall Independent School District was out there, and we've had Delhi out there using. They're going to be using the complex as their home field. So they should have another game this Friday coming. We've already had finished repainting the library. So we did the conference room. We've done 2 vacant offices. So pretty much the conference room will be ready for out there to get rented out. We also have done a whole bunch of prep work at Moreno Park. You know, all of you run by there. There's a whole bunch of people out there already enjoying it. We still we're about 98% completed. Still have a couple of other tables that need to be constructed, built on. There's 3 cement slabs that they broke, so they're going to have to redo those. So they said they'll be coming in tomorrow. So we should be done by the end of this week. So we will be done for the grand opening by the 19th of March. So restrooms are ready. We did everything. We put new restrooms in it, new water system and everything. So we're good to go. So like I said, I drive by there every day, and there's a whole bunch of kids out there. So that's good to see. Good to see. So other than that, basically that's all. That's all I got. If you got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
And we're excited about that. That was grant money.
Yes.
Council, that.
Mayor, just to add on, the community center, Graham kind of touched on this, but the community center hasn't been open since COVID, since the beginning of COVID. So it's been over 3 years that it hasn't opened. We are opening. It'll be ready to go by the 25th.
By the 25th.
Looks a lot better. I know with this fresh coat of paint, and they've made some improvements out there. So we're gonna add a couple other things. I know we have an old refrigerator that we probably need to replace, and do some things. It's relatively cheap. I didn't know how much use it had until they told me that the different groups use that. So again, that'll be back on for people to start renting as of the 25th of March.
It's looking really nice. If y'all have a chance to stop by and visit our library, we've done all the other rooms. We are creating a map room where we will hold most of our maps. And when someone needs to come and look at maps, we'll have a map room available. We will have study rooms. So we are really working hard to make improvements at the library. We also have different organizations that meet out there. We have the early childhood intervention that has met. The special education teacher goes out there and meets with some of these kids. Just wanted to point out to you all that we do have a lot of uses that are going on out there. Let me move over to the code enforcement. There is a graph that I want to bring to your attention regarding the number of cases that have been opened for this month. We've opened 46 code enforcement cases, and I'm sorry, we have closed and resolved 46 cases. We have 27 open, and then 3 that are pending further action. Usually that's that violation notice, and we give them the 15 days to take corrective action. So we're doing really good on there. You'll see an increase in the number of cases from January. It was at 36. We are now at 44 code enforcement, cases, and then the building codes. You recall last month I pointed out that, the month of January, we generated about 3,600, which was, an improvement from around the 1,300, 1,200 from the previous months. For February, we're at almost $8,000 in revenue for, building codes. And, as far as community development, my report, we have one rezoning case that's here before you tonight for a housing, development. And then we have about 3, projects. We've got the demolition has occurred at the Pizza Hut. And we've got some really great plans that are coming in for the new Pizza Hut. That will be revealed at the time when it starts going up. And then we have, about 3 other, retail projects that are pending as well. That's it, unless y'all have any questions regarding my reports.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Assistant City Manager. Next, I believe we're moving on to our presentations, which would be item 6A. Hector, we're gonna invite you back up to discuss our water situation.
So this segment, we're gonna be talking water plants and, boil water notices and, finally, the locals. So we'll start with the water well update. Currently, all the water wells are up and running, and they're at 100%. Now, out of the 4, 3 are online and 1 is awaiting test results. We should have by 3 o'clock tomorrow. And it should come back online before end of day tomorrow. So we should be at 100% hopefully by the end of the day. But we are 3 out of 4 water plants currently running. Is there anything specific you want to touch on?
No, I think on any council, just to kind of illustrate, and I don't want to speak for Hector, but there's some things you find in your packet from things that they have to get approved, from testing. I think part of what came up the last time we had this issue was, of course, we had some issues with our water wells, but there's also testing that we're required to have, that TCEQ requires us to do. Some of that requires, and a lot of times what happens is you have to get delays a day or 2. And so we're cautious, and that's the reason the boiled water notice happened, was, as most of y'all experienced, low water pressure, or very little water pressure. One of the things that we're required to do is provide, again, testing before we put a water well online. We've had really some, I'll say this, we've had some issues primarily with our cherry plant, and we've had issues with other plants, but the cherry plant has been a challenge for us as far as just trying to get, it's just, in my opinion, it's always one thing after another, so we've had issues with that. And then there was a rehabilitation project, I think the council's aware, and Hector probably has it in your packet, I don't know if it's in there, on the Colorado. And that project is now complete, which again, that required us to take that well down to complete that project. And the idea was behind a lot of this is if we could keep 2, if not 3 wells running while we were doing the Colorado plant, we would have enough, and we did have enough of 2 wells to sustain what was going on. The problem is when one of them goes down, then we start having problems. And this kind of, again, which I've experienced, is we can operate, I think, efficiently on 1 well, 2 wells, excuse me. We start running into, we're operating with fewer wells, you see the result. But on our end, part of what we're trying to do, what Hector, I think he's doing a pretty good job of, but it does require some sacrifices, is do we want to have these problems now, or do we want to have them in the summer months? Preferably, we don't want them at all, but that was the idea. The summer months we know are going to be hard on all the communities, but I feel confident going into the summer months that we're going to have the wells to where we're going to be able to provide water. Y'all know last year was, and I get it, last year was an issue. We don't want to run into those problems this year. So again, Hector will touch on some of the specifics to kind of what they test for, when they're required to test, and then the discoloration of water. And I think I kind of understand part of the, and quite frankly, there's still some questions when we talk about discoloration. What Hector and these guys don't know is, one is whenever they turn on the well, is it really going to cause a discoloration, right? Because it's hard for them to predict how much turbidity there's going to be. So it's like you turn something on, you don't know if it's gonna, it may or may not cause discoloration. So it's kinda hard for us to predetermine that, right, if you will. So by the time the water starts coming out, you start getting calls that there's this discolored water. Again, part of that is because we truly don't know until after, I hate to say it, till after the fact, after he actually, turns that well on, but I'll let you talk on some specifics.
Piggyback off of that, boil water notices, TCQ does require us to issue a boil water notice in the case that something happens, something disturbs the water system. In our case, it was basically because we had a down water plant. It was the water, there was nothing wrong with the water. The water was fine. And we supplied the results in your packet, so.
You want to tell them what you test for?
We test for total coliform and E. coli. It's the only thing we test for. It's the only thing that's gonna harm. Coliforms are not harmful. They're bacteria, but they're usually indicators that E. coli might be present. So we test for E. coli. And then we never tested positive for E. coli. So there was nothing wrong with the water. It was just that there was a down plant, and the possibility that we would go up below 20 PSI was present. So we had to issue the boil water notice. But ultimately, our lowest indicator was 23.9. So we never went below the 20 limit. So that's why it was issued just as a precaution, nothing else, basically. And it was rescinded 2 days later. And mind you, when you test for coliforms and E. coli, it's a 26-hour process. It's a 24-hour process, and then however long it takes them to process it, paperwork, and get back to us, usually an hour or two. So we consider it a 26-hour process. So that's why it took an extra day for us to rescind the boil water notice, or else we would have rescinded it right then and there.
I think on that end, again, just, I don't want to speak for Hector, but on that end, they do the testing of water and the safety of water. That's their charge on a daily basis. And once you, some of the things they have to test for, again, even quite frankly on my end is, how often do you guys test for water?
We twice a month for water. We will send samples every other week, and for wastewater it's every week. So we test it, and it's a daily. For wastewater, it's a daily testing, but we send. It's a 5-day test.
Do you want to tell them where the test areas are in town, where y'all get the samples from?
Okay, so there's 20 test points in the city of Pearsall, and each quadrant has 4 test points. So on the west side, it's going to be your Horizon West, and it's going to be your extreme south over here towards the hospital area, and then on this side, it's going to be Alabama Street, that area, and then of course your extreme south, which is closer to Roosevelt and Peckles and all that area. So they're just random 20 random sites. They're documented. They're illustrated as to which sites, and they're repetitive, but it's in those areas. They're just scattered all over the place. And we do test twice a week. We do test our wells twice a week, and so far we've been fine. So far, just the boil water notice kind of put a damper on things, but it was just for malfunctioning plant, nothing else.
We do want to, on that end, we do want to notify folks of when the significant, events occur. Now, I'm saying that, I know some councils, y'all may have gotten calls of, was the boil water, and it gets confusing, because sometimes, was the boil water notice lifted, and we still have water restrictions, which are 2 different things, right? So we had water restrictions, and as part of the water restrictions, we were asking folks not to irrigate, and we were asking people, I think it was folks that own car washes, not to have those open during those times. That's part of the restrictions, and it's in an ordinance that was passed, I think, in 2011, and I think it was amended in 2015, that speaks to the water restrictions. And so that's what we had to go to when we were down to 1 well, was that water restriction. When we started getting wells back on, we lifted that water restriction. And then as Hector started getting results and getting wells back up and getting good wells then we started lifting the boil water notice. So I think that was a little confusing for people, but there was different reasons why we did some of the things that were done. One was to water, and the other one was for safety, precaution. But I know it gets confusing, and, on our end, as best we can, we try to notify people, these are, you know, we lift in bands. I think what people want is either maybe updates more often, which, you know, on that end, it's like, well, to me, I mean, if we gauge that, it's like, well, we're trying to make some distinction of when we notify people and how often, right? I don't know if people on the other end, if they want notifications every hour, every 2, every 5, or 6. So that part of it was, I'm sure it was a bit tough for the public to understand, but it wasn't anything on our end to not keep the public informed. It was just on our end, as best we could, trying to just give people the basic information that they need.
So council, one of the things that we really learned here is what did we learn? And where are we gonna go from this? I mean, we have 4 wells, we're blessed, they're older. These guys do a great job of keeping them up and running, but what happened was the accumulation of a perfect storm. So, as you guys know, and it's too early to talk about, but we've been talking about increasing capacity. And that's the thing to think about as we move forward. We've got some projects coming up that these items are on the agenda for there. And so we need to look at that and consider that so that things like this don't happen. We're really blessed. I mean, we've got good wells, we've got good history, but sometimes this happens. And again, it just caught us because we were doing some capital maintenance on one of the wells, and then one of our went down. So anyway, think about this point when we get to looking at these other, the ability to produce more water, which is on the agenda. Yes, sir.
Right, there's no doubt that the job is being done, that we understand, and we understand what has to be done, at least in our end, the city end. But it's just the communication that has to go out to the public. Because of course, many citizens have to prepare this, so they have to, you know, they have to go out to the store, whatever the case is. And that's their frustration, is that we were not communicating anything at all, at the beginning. I believe I talked to Mayor, over a phone call, that we need to release this information, to give them updates. And I think that's where the frustration is. So as we get into these topics, conversations forward, we need to get a better form of communication out to the public in any given situation that we communicate, that we can relate to the public. And I think that's what I'm
That's
getting.
an excellent point, and we can get better on that. We can do a better job.
And what, this group of people that keep complaining, what type of communication would they like? Or we could just touch base with that?
Well, I think probably what we can do, and
They want
give
to
our
put that
public
for-
information officer, but go, last updated an hour ago, no new information, just put it out there. And I think that's what Fred's saying, there's really nothing new to say, and so maybe people want bites. I mean, with the phone ages, we want bites every 30 seconds, but it may be every 4 or 6 hours. But we can say last updated X, and then update again, there's no new information, because again, it's these, we had to get the reports back, and there was nothing that we could do to speed that up, so.
I can say this, Bianca's been working on something now. We talked about this over a year and a half ago. We went through this product to, it's called Everbridge, and so part of it was to notify people if they were signed up. What we're working on, we're gonna keep our fingers crossed, but we think it's gonna work. We're pretty sure that we'll know something in the next week or 2. Is this program will allow us, and we've been working on this, to call everybody that has a landline. It doesn't require anybody to sign up. So your elderly folks, your businesses, those folks will be getting calls, whether it's pre-recorded or, it's a pre-recorded call. They will be getting calls on theirs, and so you get a call from the city of Pearsall and things like that. It really is a call from the city of Pearsall. But they'll be getting calls to your landlines. A lot of times the folks that have landlines, of course, are gonna be your elderly, right? So we're gonna work on that. We think we can get something up and going. We'd like to run a test, probably sometime either this month or early next month, and get people, at least have know that we have that capability. And then on the other end is on the Facebook side, again, part of that is, I see your point, I understand your point. So, that's what we're gonna work on, so hopefully that'll help out and make things a little bit.
And you know, one of the things too, that we're just thinking about this, how we can help is Fred and I can maybe get information out to you guys, cause, you know, we get called, and if you're updated with the latest, then if you can just say, hey, we're 12 hours into a 26-hour cycle, so it's just, you know, just hang in there, so. And we realize we need to feed you with the right information so that you can give that to the public, but anyway, good points, and we'll work to
We
get
use
better.
that with the school, and it's very beneficial, and it's kind of what you said, Mr. Reyes, it calls all the students and their parents, or it sends them a text, and I think that's something that y'all might.
It's a robocall.